Good morning all of you. This is 11th class biology. Lecture 5 of chapter 5 Morphology of flowering plants. Topics to be discussed today are placentation, the fruit and structure of dicot and monocot seed. So let's start with the placentation. So first of all, what is placentation? The arrangement of ovules within the ovary is known as placentation. Means how the ovules are attached with the ovary wall. Okay, how these are arranged inside the ovary. That arrangement is called placentation. Now the placentation, you can say arrangement of ovules inside the ovary is of different types, and these are the different types of placentation. First is marginal, then axial, parietal, basal, central and free central. Let's see what is marginal placentation. In marginal placentation, the placenta forms a ridge along the ventral suture of ovary. Let's see here. This is the ventral suture of the ovary. Okay, and the placenta makes a ridge along with it. Okay, along the ventral line of the ovary, you can see. This is placenta present here. This, right? And the ovules are borne on this ridge, forming two rows. Now these ovules are attached with it and two rows are formed, right? And example of such type of placentation is found in pea. Here you can see this pea pod, and this is ventral suture of the ovary where the placenta is present, and here these are the ovules. The pea seeds that you eat, these are ovules attached with the placenta, and this is called marginal placentation because here the ovules are attached with the marginal position at the margins, you can see, right? Now next type of placentation is axial placentation. Here when the placenta is axial and the ovules are attached to it in a multilocular ovary. Here you see, this is multilocular ovary. This is first, second and third. Okay, these three locules are present here, right? So multilocular ovary this is called because these different locules are present here, right? The placentation is said to be axial. Here in this multilocular ovary, these in the center, this is placenta and these are ovules attached with it, right? So this is axial position of the placenta and ovules are attached with the axial placenta, you can say, and ovary is multilocular. These three chambers, these different chambers are called locules of the ovary, right? So ovary is multilocular. And example of such placentation is found in China rose and also in tomato. Here you can see in the tomato, this is multilocular ovary. Okay, when you cut tomato like this, then these locules can be seen. Okay, so this is multilocular ovary, and this in the central position, this is placenta, and these different ovules are attached with the, you can say, tomato seeds. Okay, these are attached with the central placenta, right? Next type of placentation is parietal placentation, and here the ovules develop on the inner wall of the ovary, right? On the inner wall of the ovary, ovules are present. Or you can say on the peripheral part, and ovary become two-chambered due to formation of false septum, right? See here, this is the complete ovary, and you can say this is the inner wall of the ovary, right? This is the inner wall of the ovary, and these are the ovules attached with the inner wall of the ovary, right? And these ovules are, you can say, these are present at the peripheral position. Okay, this position is called peripheral position. So you can say ovules are attached with the peripheral position or on the ovary wall, on the inner wall of the ovary, right? And such a placentation, because the ovules are present on the periphery, that's why such a placentation is called parietal placentation. right? And one more thing is here, sometimes the ovary become two chambered. Two chambers are formed in the ovary due to formation of a false septum. Means the true septum means ovary is not truly divided into two chambers like it was multilocular in the last case. Okay, it is not like that, but a false septum like structure is formed and divides the ovary into two parts. Okay. Now you can see here the example of parietal placentation. It is found in mustard and cucumber. So this is cucumber, you can see here, and you can see this is the peripheral position, or this is the inner wall of the ovary. Okay, and with the inner wall of the ovary, these are ovules. These ovules are attached like this with the inner wall of the ovary, right? Now next type of placentation is free central placentation. The ovules are borne on central axis and septa are absent. So see here the ovules are present on the central axis, right? And no septa is present here. So you can say septa is absent here. And such type of placentation is found in dianthus, right? So you can see there is no septa. Means ovary is unilocular, right? And this type of placentation is called free central placentation. How it is different from the axial placentation? You can say axial placentation, ovary was multilocular there, but here ovary is unilocular, right? No septa are present here. Now next type of placentation is basal placentation, and here the placenta develops at the base of ovary. As you can see here, this is the ovary, and this diagram also you can see here. Okay, this is the ovary and this is the base of ovary. So placenta is present at the base of ovary. Okay, and that is ovule is attached with the base of ovary, right? And example of such placentation is found in sunflower. Next topic is the fruit. So the fruit is a characteristic feature of flowering plants. Means flowering plants produce fruit, right? How these fruits are formed on the flowering plant? These are formed from ovary after fertilization. After the fertilization, ovary develops to form the fruit, right? If a fruit is formed without fertilization of the ovary, it is called a parthenocarpic fruit, right? The fruit consists of a wall or pericarp and seeds. So you can say there are two parts of fruit. Outermost layer of the fruit is called fruit wall, and fruit wall is also called pericarp, right? And inside the fruit, seeds are present. When pericarp is thick and fleshy, okay, in some fruits pericarp, or you can see the fruit wall is more thick, in some it can be thin. Okay, so when the fruit wall or the pericarp is thick and fleshy, it is differentiated into outer epicarp, the middle mesocarp, and inner endocarp, right? So see here, this is you can say pericarp of mango. Okay, this is complete pericarp of the mango. Okay, and inside this structure, this is seed, right? Now there are different parts of the pericarp. This is mango is a fleshy fruit. Okay, so outermost layer of the pericarp is called epicarp, because here pericarp is differentiated into three parts. Okay, outermost is epicarp, then below the epicarp there is mesocarp, that is edible part of the mango that you eat. Okay, so the part of the mango that you eat is mesocarp, that is fruit wall actually, right? And inside the mesocarp, the layer just above the seed, the hard layer just above the seed is endocarp. Okay, and inside that endocarp, seed is protected. In coconut, the mesocarp is fibrous, means made up of fibers. You see here in the diagram, this part, this fibrous part of the coconut, this is mesocarp. Okay, this is, you can say, a part of pericarp, that is fruit wall. So this fibrous part is mesocarp, and it is not edible in the coconut, right? fibrous part is not edible, but in case of mango, mesocarp is edible, right? So it it vary from fruit to fruit, that which part of the fruit will be edible, right? So in mango and coconut, the fruit is known as a drupe. Now what is the meaning of drupe? Drupes develop from monocarpellary superior ovaries. Okay, so there are two things. First is monocarpellary, means single carpel is present. Okay, and ovary is superior, right? So when a fruit develops from monocarpellary superior ovary, that is called drupe. Okay, that fruit is called drupe. So both mango and coconut are drupe because these are developed from monocarpellary superior ovaries, right? And these are one seeded. So one seed is present in mango as well as in coconut, right? Now which one is the edible part of the coconut? Seed. Okay, pericarp, that is fruit wall, is not edible in case of you can say in the coconut. Edible part is seed. So on the inner side that you see the white part of the coconut, that is seed of coconut. Okay, and in case of mango, fruit wall is edible. Which part of fruit wall? Mesocarp. Okay, seed is not edible in case of mango. Next topic is the seed. So how the seeds are formed? The ovules after fertilization develop into seeds. Okay, ovules are present inside the ovaries, right? So after the fertilization, ovaries form fruit, and inside the ovaries, the ovules which are present form seed. Okay, so seeds are present inside the fruit, or you can say before fertilization in a flower, like ovules are present inside the ovary, and after the fertilization, seeds will be present inside the fruit, right? Now a seed is made up of a seed coat and an embryo. So these are two main parts of the seed. On outer side, seed coat is present, and on inner side, embryo is present. Okay, now this embryo is made up of a radicle, a plumule, and one or two cotyledons, right? These are parts of embryo: radicle, plumule, and cotyledons. Cotyledons can be one or two. Now depending on these cotyledons, seeds are of two types: seeds having one cotyledon and seeds having two cotyledons. So our next topic is structure of dicotyledonous seed, means a seed having two cotyledons. Okay, the outermost covering of a seed is the seed coat. Okay, so outermost covering is seed coat, and inside the seed coat embryo is present, right? So in the dicotyledonous seed also, seed coat is present on the outer side, and the seed coat has two layers: the outer testa and inner tegmen. So seed coat is further divided into two layers. On outer side it is called testa, and on inner side it is called tegmen. The hilum is a scar on the seed coat through which the developing seeds were attached to the fruit. Okay, so what is hilum? It is a scar on the seed coat through which developing seeds were attached to the fruit. Means it is attached with the hilum, it is attached with the placenta. Above the hilum is a small pore called micropyle. So just above the hilum there is a pore-like structure that is called micropyle, that is for the exchange of gases. So within seed coat is the embryo consisting of an embryonal axis. Okay, so inside the seed coat embryo is present, and that embryo consists of embryonal axis and two cotyledons, because this is we are doing about the structure of dicotyledonous seed. So there are two cotyledons, right? So embryonal axis is present and two cotyledons are present. At the two ends of embryonal axis are present the radicle and the plumule. So these two are parts of embryonal axis. Okay, on one end of the embryonal axis, radicle is present, as you can see here. This complete structure is embryonal axis, and on one end plumule is present, and on another end radicle is present. Okay, so these are two main parts of the dicotyledonous seed, you can say, seed coat and embryo. Okay, and so in this embryo is having this embryonal axis and these two cotyledons. So you can see here these two cotyledons and embryonal axis having plumule and radicle, right? Now you can see here this is structure of gram seed. Okay, so this outermost layer is seed coat and this is hilum. So what is this hilum? This is scare with which seed is attached with the fruit. Okay, so the scare like structure with which seed get attached with the fruit is called hilum. And just above the hilum, this spore is micropyle. What is function of this micropyle? It helps in exchange of gases for the seed. Now in some seeds the endosperm formed as a result of double fertilization. You know about the double fertilization? So after the double fertilization endosperm is formed. Okay, and that endosperm is a food storing tissue, means food is stored inside the endosperm that helps in the development of developing embryo. You can say that is a source of nutrition for the developing embryo. Okay, so such seeds are called endospermic seeds. For example, castor. In some plants, the endosperm is not present in mature seeds and such seeds are non-endospermic seeds. Okay, so the seeds in which endosperm is not present will be called non-endospermic seeds. For example, bee. Next is structure of a monocotyledonous seed, means seed having a single cotyledon, right? Monocotyledonous seed consists of one large and shield-shaped cotyledon known as scutellum. So only one cotyledon is present in monocotyledonous seed and that is called scutellum, and a short axis with a plumule and a radicle. So embryonal axis is present, that embryonal axis is called short axis here, that is having plumule and radicle, and the single cotyledon which is present is shield shape and is called scutellum. The plumule and radicle are enclosed in sheaths which are called coleoptile and coleorhiza respectively. So here covering over the plumule means sheath over the plumule is called coleoptile and sheath over the radicle is called coleorhiza. The outer covering of endosperm separates the embryo by a proteinaceous layer called aileron layer. Okay, you see here in this diagram all the parts of the monocotyledonous seed. Okay, first of all you start here with the scutellum. This is the single cotyledon found in the monocotyledonous seed. Okay, you can see this shape, this is shield shape. Okay, that's why this cotyledon is called scutellum, right? Now this is embryonal axis. Okay, this complete part is embryonal axis, and on the one side of embryonal axis this plumule is present and on another end this radicle is present, right? Now this radicle is enclosed by a sheath that is called coleorhiza, and plumule is also enclosed by a sheath that is called coleoptile. Okay, so coleoptile and coleorhiza, these are sheaths of plumule and radicle, right? Now what is next part? Here endosperm separates the embryo by a proteinaceous layer. Okay, see here this part is endosperm. This is complete endosperm that is required for the nutrition for the developing embryo. Okay, so this is endosperm and this is separated from the embryo by a proteinaceous layer. Okay, this is proteinaceous layer and this proteinaceous layer is called aileron layer, right? So this complete layer present here, you can see this different type of structure. This is aileron layer and this is made up of protein. Okay, and what is its function? It is separating the embryo from the endosperm, right? Now the complete seed, complete monocotyledonous seed is covered by seed coat. Okay, so this is seed coat and just outside the seed there is fruit wall also. Okay, so seed coat and fruit wall are present here on the outer side. On today's topics, your homework is NCERT question number 7 and second question, describe different types of presentation with diagram, also give example for each. Now let's discuss the homework solutions of previous lecture, and this is answer for question number 6 of NCERT. And this is C part of the question, that what is the difference between apocarpus ovary and syncarpus ovary. So the difference is, in apocarpus ovary, 2 or more carpels are free, right? Carpels are in free condition. Okay, so that ovary is called apocarpus ovary, and in syncarpus ovary, 2 or more carpels are fused. So fused condition is called syncarpus and free condition is called apocarpus in ovary, right? Now lotus is the example of apocarpus ovary and mustard is example of syncarpus ovary. Now next question that I gave in homework was NCERT question number 15, that is, describe the arrangement of floral members in relation to their insertion on thalamus. And the answer is, the arrangement of floral members in relation to their insertion on thalamus are of 3 types. So let's see what are these 3 types. First is hypogynous flower. So these are the flowers in which gynoecium occupies the highest position, while the other members like anther, sepals and petals, okay, so these parts are situated below it. So here gynoecium occupies the highest position, and you know ovary is the main part of the gynoecium. So if the ovary is at the highest position, that ovary will be called superior to other members, okay. So in these flowers, ovary is said to be superior, right? Because ovary is at the highest position, while the other members like anther, sepal, petals, these are present below it, right? And such flowers are called hypogynous flowers. You can say flowers having superior type of ovary are called hypogynous flower, and such a condition is found in brinjal. Then second type of flowers are perigynous flowers, and these are the flowers in which gynoecium stays in the center and other parts of the flowers are located on the rim of thalamus, okay. So what is happening here? Gynoecium is present in the center and other parts like anther, sepals and petals, these are located on the rim of thalamus, on the both sides of the thalamus, okay, almost at the same level. So here ovary is neither superior nor inferior, okay, because all the members along with ovary, okay, means along with gynoecium, all other members like sepal, petals and anthers are also present at the same level. So in this case, ovary is said to be half inferior, okay, and such flowers are called perigynous flowers, and such condition is found in rose. Next type of flowers are epigynous flowers, and these are the flowers in which margin of thalamus grows upwards, okay, margins of the thalamus and both sides of the thalamus grows upwards, unfolding the ovary, okay. When the thalamus, both sides of the thalamus, or you can say margins of the thalamus, will grow upward and will cover the ovary completely, okay, or you can say unfold the ovary. Here ovary gets fused with thalamus and other parts of the flower arise above the ovary, okay. So when the thalamus is enclosing the ovary gets fused with the thalamus, and the other parts of the flower like androecium, sepals, petals, these will arise above the ovary, okay. Ovary is completely enclosed inside the thalamus, and then on the upper part of the thalamus, like you can say above the ovary, all other parts will arise, right? Because here ovary is present below the other parts of the flower, that's why ovary is said to be inferior, right? And such flowers are called epigynous flowers, and such a condition is found in flowers of guava.